Order, it says we're supposed to establish a quorum. A quorum is required for.
Even though you're not making motions or anything else, it's still.
Right, because there is no voting involved during a.
No.
No. All right, so quorum wise, we have 1, 2, 3. Are you full time now? Yes,
Everybody's here.
everybody's here. So we have a quorum. Now we've got to move to the public hearing on application MD 0124, David and Joan Losi, map 31, lot 5E, to subdivide the lot into 4 parcels. And let's see. The purpose of the public hearing, which we just did, they're subdividing the lots. No crosstalk amongst the audience. All questions are asked through the chair, and I will direct whoever needs to be directed to, I guess. Be recognized by a raise of a hand, and participants must state their name followed by their question or comment. And chair has a right to defer a question to another person on namely housing committee.
Scratch that.
Scratch that. All right. So. It says presentation of the ordinance summary of highlights, content. They're gonna scratch that too.
Well, basically, it'd be, you already said it, what we're
Right.
here for is the MD 124.
Right. And then it says you've got to open the floor for comments and questions from proponents.
Mhm. So anyone that is for it,
That's for it, right?
yep. At this point, I think that would be Mr. Losi.
All right, so open the floor to comments and questions from the ones that are for it. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board, my name is David Losi. When I was here the last time, you asked me some questions. And unless some of the members who were not here last time would like me to go through everything again, given that it's a hot evening, I'll start where I left off. That's entirely up to you. The questions that you asked last time involved a couple of things. First, the sequence in which the various properties were acquired, which collectively is what is before you. I wrote a letter, I put with that letter each of the deeds that came in, so you could see those. The lines are not exactly the same today as they were then, and I can explain that. So you roll something up on a hot day and it stays rolling. I have several copies of this. Retain one that I can work from, but the others. My apologies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these packages, which they go through each of the transactions, show what happened to the lot line.
Is there a spare one that we can circulate through?
One for Dave, perhaps.
I apologize, my surveyor brought me the number that I handed out.
I'll share. I'll send that back.
Sure. Bill and I can share.
Changes.
Okay.
You keep saying that though.
To just wrap around.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
We maybe just put one up on a board there so the majority of us can see it during time.
There's a way to fix it, I'll do
It's
it.
big.
Yeah, I know we put it on the board.
Uh,
I think you better.
I got it.
Around, I couldn't. see it.
yeah.
There's some clips over there.
I just saw those clips.
Oh, here, okay.
And there's an easel behind the stack of chairs. Oh, that's it. That might be paper.
Sorry, I didn't break the window.
One piece still.
There's a whole story there.
So. It's good.
So we took one picture.
Will you be able to see it there? It's one of the chats that you did that. It's a story.
I believe it is.
This is. But you got to send it policy.
Oh, here we go.
I don't think there's any numbers on that.
All right, okay,
The first sheet, sketch A. Shows at was at the top, something to Losey First Acquisition, ABC Company to Losey. That was lot 5 and lot 6 on the old subdivision, the Sunset Acres subdivision. It was just that. You know, the second acquisition. This is a long time ago, so I had to have my surveyor go back and search the title on this because I didn't remember. Second, we then spoke to Mrs. Shays, who owned this piece, which it says is the third acquisition. And that was, the Dexters wanted some land and the Joneses did, so we were working on that. In the meantime, Mr. Corby died and his son spoke to me about acquiring this piece, which says second acquisition. I think of it as the third because the routine Mrs. Shays occurred, I was talking to her first. It's just that by the time we got sorted out with the lawyers and the banks and stuff, it was in the reverse order, so that this piece farthest to the south.
It was like 5 years later, right? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't do it.
These are the dates on the deed from what my surveyor told me. In any event, what happened was, we can get to the second and third sheet. We acquired this, lots 5 and 6. The Shays piece was acquired by the Dexters, who then conveyed one piece to Jones and the balance of it to us as abutters. And then the third piece was this Corby piece down here, which I'm not asking to be subdivided or included as an approved lot for sale, not asking that. This is simply regarded as excess land, maybe to be dealt with sometime in the future, who knows? We're really only looking for the lots we've got specified. Now, turn to the second sheet. Sketch B. What this reflects is that the Jones property, which came out of Shea, was sold to us, and I sold a piece from this Dexter, this Corby piece to Jones. So we essentially swapped parcels with some extra add-ons there. So then, the land that I owned was lot 5 and 6. The land that came in the Shays Dexter arrangement and the Jones piece. And what was left of the Corby, but for our purposes today, it was this. Then sketch C,
Can you show that again,
I'm
Jay?
sorry.
We just couldn't see what you were doing.
5 and 6,
This is the end part.
this was all Shays. This was Jones. This was part of Corby. Jones and I swapped parcels for some other doodads, but essentially, we acquired this, Jones acquired that. That's what sketch B is all about. The third sketch C is when we originally, I wanted to sell this whole piece together, one piece. I went to some trouble to acquire it, put it together, and that's why I wanted to sell it. Unfortunately, some problems arose. And turned out that that isn't going to be possible. And so in talking to my real estate agent, I said, all right, if we're going to have difficulty selling this piece, threats of a lawsuit and all kinds of nonsense, what can we do? What can we do that is unassailable, have a clear right to do it? So he said, well, we can take the original lot you had and what you got from the Shays piece. There's no challenge on those. So how can we make that work? Well, lot 1, the original lot that I had with lots, which is lot 5 and 6, we moved this lot line down a little bit. The reason we did that this is a topographic map. There are 2 brooks or drainage areas down here, just off to the south of lot 6. That's a wet area down there. It made sense that that would be to divide the lots. So we moved the lot line down so that it became more or less the natural bound. And then we took the back lot, we took the balance that was left and made it into a front lot and a back lot. That was it. That's the sequence. So that was the first question, yes, was what was the sequence? You have the deeds, you have now the sequence prepared by my surveyor. You asked another question, which was about the boundary of Tara Siegmund's lot. This is an amendment to the Sunset Acres subdivision, which your predecessors approved before I acquired anything. And I'd forgotten this. It was a while ago. But when I went to acquire lots 5 and 6, the lawyer came out and had a look at this and said something is screwy. There's supposed to be, the road is supposed to follow the boundary line here, which was at that time it was burned. They didn't build it there. They built it down through your lot. There's no easement for that. There's no right of way. There was never a conveyance. They simply built it in the wrong place. So here you have a road going through the land that you want to buy that isn't supposed to be there. So the arrangement that we made at the lawyer went back to the owners of the Peters that created the subdivision, Doug Grinnell, Nick Randlett, and Ray Ellis. So we got a problem. their solution was to take. You wanted that shown on a map, I have it here, take. This, the old road layout, where it was never built. Make that part of lots 5 and 6, and from lot 5 and 6, create a legal existence for that road. Mind you, this is all going on before we owned it. So, at the time we acquired the property, we acquired lot 5 and 6. This is your approval, or your predecessor's approval. Lot 5 and 6 then extended to the eastern line of the laid out trim lane. That's what the people who developed the subdivision, owned the whole thing, did. And that's what they asked me to do, was to accept this road in this location and make that lawful, in return for which they moved that line up. I didn't remember it when we were here the last time. But when you dig it out of the land records, there it is. So that was the second part. We did not, as we were accused of last time, steal anybody's land. This is all we bought. This is all we claim to have, ever.
I have a question.
Well, you gotta ask him to, so he can announce you.
And the third thing that you asked was, guess I'll put a copy up here and I'll give you each the sheet if you'd like it.
Are they like the same thing?
It looks like the same, doesn't it?
Are these all the same? To pass around?
I think so.
Um.
If I open it to you right now, I open it to everybody's. All right. Can you hold it?
Mr. Chairman, what you asked was to show the maps, but with the old road location and the new road location. That's what this is, right? It also puts the contours on here. The reason that we put the contours on was that it shows that this is where the brooks are, the wet area, and why that's a better natural boundary. With one other change from what we showed you before, and that up at the corner of lot 1 and lot 2, where we showed a slightly different corner.
Yeah, those are different. This is what we have a copy of, and this is what it's showing over here.
Oh, so these all are, they're not all the same.
Oh dear.
No.
Let me fix this. Where are we on?
We have the corrected one.
Yeah, this is correct.
This is the corrected one. Okay, yeah. I had one here before.
I think that's the.
These two are slightly different.
Yeah, see, this is what he's saying in the correct.
This is the corrected.
No, this is the correct.
Oh, that's the correct.
And here's,
Right, and that's the old one over there.
here's the problem.
That's just the old.
The road that comes into the Dexter property, there was a 50-foot right of way for it. It started outside of the right of way. So that if you go out there and look, there's a pin here. And the 50-foot pin 50 feet away is actually on this side of the road, in the road. So the entire surface of the road, if you will, is actually off the 50-foot easement. So what this does, the corrected one, it says, okay, it was built where it was built. Let's live with it. Let's move the easement over. so that it's clear that the road is fine where it is. And nobody, no title searcher, surveyor, what have you, can make any squawk about it at any point in the future. It doesn't change much of anything else, other than to get the road back, well, not, can't get the road back in the easement. Got the easement back on top of the road. So that's the difference between this one and the one that I was here with last month, or last time. I think those were the questions that you had for me at that point. I guess there was one other, and that was the ownership of Trim Lane. They said that was conveyed by the owners of the subdivision to us when we bought lot 5 and lot 6. It was subsequently conveyed by Isle Pro Marine, Earl McKenzie, to others. Turns out Isle Pro Marine didn't own it. It has been conveyed back. So if you see a hiccup on the land records, that's what it was all about. Alice Grinnell and Randall conveyed that to us in 1985, I guess. And it was an attempt to convey it away, bring it back. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, first one that had a question was Karen.
Yes, so. If this was all conveyed to you in 1985. As you remember, last meeting, I brought, 2 pieces of evidence. That would give us each 25 feet of that road. And one of those is from your lawyer, something you pursued in 2005. And on this letter, which I gave to the planning board last week, if you guys have copies, you could share them with people who weren't here last
It would
week.
have been in their boxes.
Pardon me.
It would have been in their boxes.
So what I'm referring to is, I'd like this to be on the record. Eaton and Peabody, October 19th, 2005. This is a letter to David Lovesey. And the 2 pieces that are pertinent, the whole letter references the road that doesn't appear magically on this map. But it is a non-documented road that never was deeded, as were none of the roads in the subdivision were deeded. So what's important in this letter is Islesboro Marine did not own the portion of the road abutting lot 5 and 6, and so could not possibly have conveyed it. Therefore, this deed served only to convey a portion of the lot 7 road abutting lot 4. Something else that's really confusing is now these lots are numbered like this, but our original numbering, when we all bought into Sunset Acre, was different lots. And it's different on each of our deeds than the current lots. Somebody's been just renaming these lots all the time. This is the important part. As of October 18th, 2005, so 20 years after Dave says this was conveyed to him, the land underlying the lot 7 road, which is the road missing from that map, is owned as follows. The portion abutting lot 5 and lot 6 to the center line of the road is part of your property. The opposite portion is part of lot 7, which my lot was lot 7, also to the center line of the road. The portion beginning at an extension of the boundary line between lot 4 and lot 5. This part was conveyed, but without a deed from IME to 2 neighbors who don't even abut the land. So this lawyer that Dave hired is a very different story than what he just described.
What that lawyer does include responsible owners of the road.
So there's also this deed that the lawyer questions, because Islesboro Marine didn't own the land. How could they convey the land that wasn't theirs to convey? So this is important history, and this has been causing a lot of strife for our neighborhood. I would hate to see this passed on to a new owner. We need some help resolving this. And there have been various planning boards planned, but the current one, if you all look into the, here's the current town map. And this road, this straightaway, is the road in question. It's undocumented, it has not been resolved, it can't just disappear. And there are other things that have disappeared. There was a pizza pie shape that's just absorbed into this as well. So there was another undocumented, I'll pass this around. If you look in the town assessor's book, that's the current map. So at some point, they put back the undocumented trim lane that was deeded for the use of all of the residents in that subdivision. And it can't just be evaporated. We need to discuss. The tax assessors asked me to reach out to my neighbor, Dave, which I did, and wrote about 3 very amicable letters trying to resolve this road. And he chose not to do it that way. I'd like to see us have some help from the town to facilitate the right action here. It would not be right to sell it as is unresolved.
Okay, you have a question?
I don't know.
You don't anymore?
No.
You had a question.
I have a question for Kara. Can I address that? She's sitting there. Or
First
can
of all, we're supposed to announce who we are,
I?
right?
Oh, I'm sorry, Congdon.
Right, now I can say, yes, you can address your question over there.
Okay, so I can address the first question of Kara about just what she was talking about.
Yes,
Do you realize that that same letter that you're using as evidence, about the road ownership says that what that same lawyer says, admits that Congdon and Dexter own the first 165 feet or so of it. She says it right after the yellow part of your paragraph.
But he also says Islesboro Marine did not have a deed, so they could not possibly have conveyed it. None of our roads are deeded. All of our roads are private, undocumented, undeeded. So you can't convey what doesn't have a deed.
Nothing to do with it.
No, I had,
Pardon
Lee
me,
Woodward at the time, was my lawyer, and he looked into it as far as he could look into it at the time. They didn't have electronic records back then.
But we're not discussing the first 200 feet, which abuts my property and now the Bradford's. That's not what we're discussing. We're discussing 700 feet, which doesn't show up on this survey and is.
because the road's not there, right?
It's undocumented, it's undeeded, and it's
The
not
road
there.
exists only on paper.
I have a second piece of evidence also initiated by a survey for David and Joan Losi, 1986. So it's after he says that was conveyed, and this is also looking at the same topic. This was when the original owner of my lot, Chris Byrne, owned it. And this actually shows that I likely own the stake that he said went away, which is okay. It's not okay. Stakes can't just go away. They're important. And on this one, it looks like I own the land under the original trim lane. So I have this, but this is my one copy.
Have you had a survey done?
I have not. This, I'll go by this, which
I'll
was
tell you right now,
initiated
there was
by
a-
Joan.
they did a survey on a piece of property right next to us. And they took a visible pin that was sitting there and moved it 25 feet closer to our place. And said, this is where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Pins have been moved, things, maps disappeared out of the drawer here. All year we put maps in and they got walked away.
The real I'm getting at is I didn't contest it. Nobody here contested it because we didn't have the money to spend on lawyers to do any kind of contesting. It's property pins get moved sometimes. And I've seen where somebody has shorefront property and they take the back pin and decide they're gonna move it because they don't have their front pin anymore because the shore washed it away. Well, I got 100, 200 feet from high water mark to my pin. Well, that's not the case anymore because the storms we had washed 5 feet of your shore away. You can't move that pin. The other
I think we're saying the same thing. The pin is important and it's
pins are
measured.
important, they do get moved though.
Well, the
They do
measurement,
get run over by,
the location is,
we had another one on our property that got run over by a, brush hog and
They
yanked
get
out of the
driven down.
ground. They disappear. Sometimes you can't find them.
okay, I can find most of mine that have been placed and are not on these boundaries with neighbors. They're right there, they're solid,
All right,
they're in the same location.
good.
So this is indicating a very
She needs to
different
get a
scenario.
Surveyor out. to
Yeah,
survey
she,
the
yeah,
property.
she needs to get it surveyed if that's what she wants to contest.
I have legal documents that were
Not that
initiated by my
document,
neighbor.
an up-to-date one.
So these are contesting the exact same question we're talking about.
Right. Okay, according to what I read, let me see what I read here from our lawyer. It said, is that the one? Uh, that's not what I was reading, I don't think. Well, hang on to that though. It says, as I understand it, the applicant has submitted a survey of the subject property as well as the deed. These things generally are considered to be sufficient to allow an application to proceed forward for review on the merits. If neighbors submit conflicting deeds or surveys, then the planning board should ask the applicant to review those and to provide legal opinion since the applicant has the burden of proof on all issues. However, if there is no conflicting evidence beyond statements, then the applicant has demonstrated sufficient right and title or interest in the property to proceed. In that case, the board should not postpone the application and require the parties to litigate their private claims. That's from the town lawyer.
So I heard that he has to provide a deed for this land. Can we see that deed?
Is it one of the ones that's in here, this package?
Every deed that I have for you.
It's right here.
May I address these comments? First of all, there's a difference between the tax map and the actual surveys.
Sure, I mean, I understand, it's just the tax map shows a road that's not there. It was planned to be there at one point, but it's not there.
And no pin has been moved to the best of my knowledge. When I said there was a pin that was hard to find. This pin right here at the end of Tara's property has a mate 50 feet to the west. That mate we couldn't find. The surveyor with a magnetometer started beep, 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 and there it was, under the road.
Right. And that's what you had just got done
That's what
explaining a
I'm
little
trying to-
while ago.
Yeah, but we didn't move the pin, we just found the pin. So there's a no pin moving on our part. And with regard to the letter, from John Cunningham. When Islesboro Marine attempted to sell that land, I went to Cunningham. Well, I didn't know, he was, at that point, I guess he was chairman of the real estate section of the main bar. So I thought he seemed like a good guy to go to. And I gave him the original deed and the subdivision map and what have you. I did not give him what your predecessor did, this. I think that showed the swap of land. Or I gave up this and got this in return. I didn't give that to him. And if it's, I mean, she's not showing you a deed, she's showing you a letter. I could go back and ask Cunningham if he would please review his letter in the light of this document, which he didn't have in front of him, that is the amended subdivision map. And that wasn't obviously the focus of this. The focus of his concern was who owned this. And he gratuitously began talking about other stuff as well, trying to avoid future problems. which I guess he didn't. But that was his focus, was who owned Trim Lane at what point, so. That was that, and if, if it makes a difference to you, I can ask Cunningham to look at his letter again and see if he continues to believe that. But I'll also say that I agree with Cara, that her property extends to the far side, that is the south side of Trim Lane as it progresses, as it proceeds up here. That there's, I don't claim any property on the road or toward Cara's property beyond that. I think her line is clear, and we agree. So I just wanted to make those points.
Terry, I see you.
I'm
I see
sorry.
you, Dick, hang on. Terry,
Are you waiting for me? Okay,
Yeah.
Terry Collins.
Barry Cowan, sorry. The plans or the wealth of plans actually that David has submitted, they always seem to be changing. All of them that I've seen thus far, including the one on Dave Dyer's desk right now, and the one that's originally filed 2 or 3 weeks ago, and one that was filed as part of this change in application just a little while ago that Carrie showed it to me. All of those plans are labeled boundary survey. And a boundary survey is the way an owner finds out what appears to be the boundary of his land. And basically, he says to the engineer, to the surveyor, where's my property line here? I think I own thus and so. And the surveyor draws it out. And if you read the fine line on the plans, and all of these plans, I assume, are the ones that I looked at. They say, this plan is only to be used as a boundary survey. If you're gonna use it for anything else, for any other government filing, anything else, talk to me, the surveyor. But really what it's saying is that a boundary plan is one thing, and if you're doing a subdivision, you need to submit a subdivision plan. And when you submit a subdivision plan, you say by deed exactly where the boundaries are on the lots that you are subdividing. And by deed, what the boundaries are of the entire 42 acres that is in common ownership that you own. And the engineer, as he's doing the surveying, is supposed to be putting in pins on all the corners. So that if the planning board chooses to come out and do a site visit, they can walk and they can say, okay, here's lot 1, here's lot 2, here's lot 3. And the boundary lines are referenced by deed. Now, I am 99% sure that David's boundary line on what he called, what used to be called lots 5 and 6, that are the first of 3 lots that run roughly north and south, and each one of which has frontage on the water. 2 of those, 5 and 6, the boundary line is going to be a description of a straight line parallel to what is called the proposed road, and that is 50 feet away from Cara's property line. And Cara's property line is in fact a straight line eastern of the proposed road and 50 feet away from Dave Losey's property line. And that fact would be clear if the surveyor had done his job, and if he puts a stamp on a plan, that means he's done his job and he will stand by that. And if he has done his job, and if he stands by it, then Dave will have submitted a subdivision plan that says, these are the dimensions of the lot that I own, the single lot, 42 acres plus or minus. And then these are the dimensions of the 3 lots that I am breaking off. And we know that those are where the lots are because deed descriptions and so forth go with where the pins are sited. So it's not a boundary survey. It's a legally, as much as any survey can be, it's a legally binding description of the property lines. And I would argue that, and I believe, Dave, you still have not filed the subdivision plan, though you are in fact proposing a 4-lot subdivision. And I don't understand how we can be sitting talking about a subdivision plan without having a subdivision plan in front of us.
Okay. Dave Dyer and I have talked about some of this whole thing. My version, my thought that comes to my head when I hear subdivision, I'm thinking of the ones that I left in Texas where there was a main entrance, roads go in, cul-de-sacs, stop signs, everything. And house lots of 200 foot by 400 foot, whatever. And in Texas, our lot lines was a 5 foot lot line. You could build 5 feet from the property line, which is unbelievable. I'm glad that's not here, but that's the kind of subdivision that I envision is a whole bunch of houses. And what I see, or what I envision is happening here, and I'm not saying, I don't know, I haven't completely digested, I guess I'll say, all the information about what our definitions say a subdivision is. But in my mind, it goes towards hundreds of houses.
Yeah.
Which, and to me, what I see he's doing is splitting up property that he can sell easier than one big property. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, I'm just saying that's what pops into my head and how I see.
Can I respond? You're absolutely right. And what Dave is trying to do is create 3 or 4 lots. And make them legal to be sold.
Right.
And the way to do that is to provide a subdivision plan. And if you read the ordinance in several different places, it says. Tells you what a subdivision plan is, what has to be done. And the reason that's important is that if Dave conveys, let's say he conveys lot 2. Somebody buys that lot as it's drawn on that boundary plan, and they get a deed. That's cool. Their lawyer goes to look at it and says, wait a minute. How do you have title to this? I don't see the boundary lines that are created by a deed, past deeds that gave Dave the ownership of it, that he in turn can sell it to you. And there are a number of things in a subdivision plan that have to be ticked off to make counted, not ticked off. Counted to be part of the subdivision plan, right? And the ordinance spells out very clearly what a subdivision plan is supposed to have. And it also presumes, and I think spells out clearly, that if you're doing a subdivision, you have to provide a subdivision plan. Because a subdivision plan, if you had one, would by itself answer the majority of the questions that are being asked right now, because it will be clear on paper. And just finally, if I may, and obviously I'm with Carr and I have an interest in what we usually think of as lot 5. It's the southernmost 2/3, a little bit more of her lot. And I'm sorry, I lost where I was going with that. Forget it. Stop.
Sir, oh, wait a minute, I did have a person on the.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Dick, if you gotta unmute yourself, we'll take your comment. Not unmuted, Dick. You gotta unmute, we can't hear you. Still can't hear you, find the mute button.
Looks like a little microphone.
Thank you. There, how about that?
That's, we can hear you now.
Okay. I represent the Groundwater Protection Committee, and our interest is to be sure we have on record any potential sale of land for a building that would include a proposal for a pool or a swimming pool, freshwater pool, or any sort of swimming pool, anything that taps in an unusual way into the sole source aquifer that lives under this island. So our job as a Groundwater Protection Committee is to protect the sole source aquifer that's under Islesboro at the moment. So far, we've done a reasonable job in that the water quality is pretty good, but we're gonna do more. And the more is to make sure that any lot that's sold registers a pool or a pond or any other large-scale aquifer, freshwater removal from the aquifer to register and talk with the town. We want to know where it is for fire protection reasons, as well as for protect the aquifer. So my only thing, Bill, is to make sure that on the record that the town is going to want a location and a quantity with any sale that includes a pond or a pool. Thank you.
Hey,
Does anybody, is that
guess
enough?
that's something to deal with in the future, I guess.
It has nothing to do with this right
I
now.
don't think it deals with this, does it?
Yes, it deals only with the potential sale that you notify the potential buyer that these kind of interests are in play.
Okay,
That's all.
all right, I think. Okay. Mr. Hughes next, sorry. Mr. Losi,
The gentleman is correct. This is not a final plan, subdivision plan. Were we to put all the data for each lot on a plan to come before you, there would be a lot of information on it. There are things like, we have to have a minimum lot, we have to exceed the minimum lot size. These things obviously exceed the minimum lot size. They obviously have the part. Instead of putting all that on there on a preliminary basis, we left it off. Obviously, it will appear in a table probably when the final map is done. Also, the surveyor, Don Richards, did not, he did call it a boundary survey. He's not willing to call it a final survey, and here's why. There is he wants to set a pin here. And he wants to check to make sure that he set a pin here. He thinks he did. But he wants to be sure. He is extremely careful. His name is Don Richards. I don't know if Don.
that doesn't mean a thing to me.
I've worked with Don for 7 years. I'm representing a group of people up in the Belfast, Northport area that have been opposed to this proposed fish farm. Don was a surveyor who discovered that the land on which the fish farm was to be located wasn't owned by the people who leased it to the fish farm. So I'm familiar with this kind of problem. We've taken it all the way to the Maine Supreme Court and back down again. I've worked with Don a lot. He's extremely careful. And that's why you don't have a map here with the set off for signatures and all that kind of stuff, because it's not ready yet. I took back to him the information that you wanted on the map last time. And I think that the 3 lots that I'm requesting approval for meet the requirements. I don't think it's all that close. If you approve the 3 lots, I will ask the surveyor to then put all the information on. We'll take the contours off, put all the information required by your regulations on as a table or however you want it done. We'll bring it in and get it looked at by Dave and then back to you, or however you wanted to do that. But I didn't want to gum this thing up with a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't pertinent to our current discussion. So I guess that's what I had. Thanks. Oh, and let me also apologize. I didn't mean to give all of you on the screen my back this entire time. It's just that the room is set up so that there's fore and aft, and I can't be in both places at once.
All right, Congdon,
Todd Congdon, North Islesville. There are several things that have come up in my head since then, but if we're gonna end this at 6, which
which we are.
I believe you intend to. That's why I wrote you a letter instead of trying, I could read it out loud right now. Or if you can just, if it's already in the record, that's okay too. But it's mostly about the maintenance of all the subdivision roads that are outside the subdivision. This is piggybacking on a subdivision, an old subdivision that has the substandard roads and fragile hills. And so this is all of a sudden gonna put on Josh Conover and me and Tom Dexter, the extra load of having to support cement trucks, people building pools, whatever. So it's really, it's not town roads that the subdivision's going to, it's other subdivision roads, private roads. And it's, that, the town isn't gonna have anything to do with those roads, it's gonna be on Josh Conover and me, and Tom. So I think it's unfair to split up that land, so he can sell all that as one lot, or peel off one and every 5 years. Like you have suggested last time, and it wouldn't load the other people with all these problems that subdivisions come with.
Look, I have to address that. I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
We had a buyer 3 years ago for the whole piece. That deal fell through because he reported to our real estate agent, who reported to me that someone who identified himself as a neighbor, I don't know who it was, said, if you buy that, you're gonna end up with a lawsuit. Guess what? That went out to all the brokers on the mainland. And that shut the market down for me. So, okay, I think that was about the Corby piece, the extra piece. So we sat here. And now we're coming back with something which is modest and clearly approvable, clearly within the rule, within your regulations. I'd like to move ahead with that. And then if there's a continued squawk about other land that we own, okay, some other day, if we want to do something with that land, which we may never do. I've tried to offer it to IIT. And Sue Hatch was very gracious in talking to me about it, but she said the board wouldn't talk to me about it. So I'm kind of in a rough position. It's IIT owns the land between the main road and this extra piece that I've got. It's got frontage on the ocean, and it's got a big cedar swamp, which is the headwaters of the Otter Creek. I thought the IIT would like that, and I tried. I can't get that to happen. Now, if my neighbors would like to buy the whole thing, they can do it. It's for sale. Anybody can buy it. I have no
Okay,
problem.
hang on, Terry, I saw a hand over here, and I saw yours.
Okay, Tom Dexter, my big complaint is you were talking about deeded, lots. And the Corby case has been modified and is not deeded. The original deed of the Corby piece is fine, now it was extended. That lot 4, and David just mentioned that about the 3 lots, he didn't mention it's a 4 lot subdivision. And that lot 4 extended into into a property that is permissible from Trim Lane by about 50 feet. But the original Corby piece had no access. And it is worrisome that, as you were saying, that it's supposed to be deeded. And it isn't. The other thing is there are, everything has to be, as I had in my letter, which I hope everyone got, in their information, that a field survey of all boundary lines and pins has to be in. And there are 2 pins that are on the map. It showed, I don't think the surveyor surveyed 2 pins on the south side of the Jones lot. And the pins that exist, the new pins where lot 4 extends into lot 3 is not pinned. You can see, I think they were old pins, but then the whole thing was moved a bit. Possibly illegal, I don't know.
Are you done, sir?
Yes, I am, thank
I'd
you.
like to follow on the idea of deeds. I heard that our town lawyer says with deeds, and if deeds can explain all of this on the map, there's no reason to not move forward. And I do not have a problem with Dave selling his land, but we're talking about now 2 pieces of this map that are not based on deeded land. And I'd like to know that the planning board is gonna do proper search of the deed of the road, which is the Trim Lane that was not built. I'd like to know that somebody is going to find that deed if it is there. If it is there, I'm okay with this map, but if there's no deed, then we have Maine statute, which says an abandoned or unbuilt road that is abandoned and has not shown ownership is divided in the middle. I would get 25 feet of that. Dave and Joan would get 25 feet. And that's what I'd like to propose as main statute.
Terry, we got about 4 minutes.
4 minutes, good, I can do that.
I didn't say you could have that long.
Oh, okay. I guess what I wanna say is that all of these questions would be answered on a registered stamped survey plan. If the surveyor prepared a subdivision plan. All of the questions about what pins are you using, what pins are you not, where are the deeds? Who has an easement to go across, who's gonna maintain the road? All of that information would be in a subdivision plan, because the planning board has to have that before they make a decision. That's how they make their decision. Now, I don't recall anything from the previous meeting discussing this thing, that the planning board ever decided that there was a completed application. I think the planning board went from a discussion about it to, do we need to hold a public hearing? I don't believe anybody ever decided that there was a completed application. I would like the planning board to make a vote to decide that there is in fact a complete application. Because I sure as hell don't think there is one.
Okay. I'm sure we're gonna get into that very shortly, but hang on. When you know me, Terry, and I like chapter and verse, you're quoting stuff out of a book, but you're not telling me where to find it or where to look for it. I'm not from Missouri, but I do practice the show me part of it. I like chapter and verse.
All right. So do I. That's why we like one another.
You mean, are you saying the subdivision ordinance?
I'm saying what Terry was saying, he's trying to tell us that, we need to have certain stuff in order to prove this or disprove or disapprove of it. Well, I need it chapter and verse, show me where it is, what line I'm looking at, and so forth.
Isn't it called the subdivision ordinance though? That.
This,
lays out-
he's quoting our book, our ordinance book,
Right.
is what he's doing,
Right,
without using what page number or anything like that.
Okay.
but don't you know it?
Do I know it? Are you kidding me? I have a hard time remembering my own kids' names half the time.
I have it in my letter.
I just wanted to say that, you know what, I don't want to take any more. I want to thank you very much. I did put chapter and verse in mine.
You
And in, Texas, they had a water system for all those houses.
Yes, they did.
Here, we have what Dick was talking about.
I
You
understand.
know, not a lot of water. I have to change my pump in the summer because that water table goes down. I have to put a bigger pump on it. It's good water though.
Okay,
That's it.
I understand. We have 2 minutes. Anybody up there on the screen? Nobody. Carl,
I have 4 documents that do disprove the 1985 planning board Jesse Robinson plan, which was only signed by partial planning board. And it's not based on these. So I just want you all to be sure to check the deeds.
okay,
Can I have an assurance of that?
I'll look at them. I don't always understand them.
Well, that's part of subdivision. The deed underlays the land that's subdivided. So if that is not true, then the boundaries are not as deeded. That's a problem. So that's why Dexter's and I are opposed to this plan. I am not opposed to Dave selling his own land as deeded. I don't object. He can have a right to sell 1 or 3 lots, but I
Okay,
do
what if his
object
deed
to the.
goes against your deed?
What if it does? It does not. I can show you their lines. We're all lined up. It's lined up. May I? This is Trim Lane. This exists here. This
Yeah.
is a road.
Right?
There's Trim Lane here. It's straight. It goes all the way here. This is Trim Lane. This is new.
But it's not,
This
because
is
on
new.
the
It's not,
ground,
it's not being
This
used.
survey with this buried, it's a big stake, it's not washed away. It's 1/2 inch by 8 inch high iron pin right here. This is my side of the boundary. And it shows on this survey that Dave and Joan had done, so they had one survey, lawyer letter, another survey, and coincidentally, our town assessors have not accepted this 1985 plan. They go by the original Sunset Acre map. If you look at this, it's just like the original Sunset Acre map.
okay,
So I have 4 documents. Some I had to go to Waldo to get because they keep disappearing out of our drawer on the island. So this is Trim Lane.
okay,
I'll give Dave this right away. It's on his land. This right of way, however, is communal and it's part of Sunset
but that right
Acres.
of way is only on paper, Cara.
And it's part of Sunset Acres subdivision. So you can't just evaporate what is on an already existing subdivision. It's as it was
This
voted.
meeting is over. I'm gonna say take 10 minutes as a break before we start up the next one.
Thank you.
Do we have to officially? How we do that? There's no voting on the solar panel.
It's open. You just have to declare a vote.
What's that?
You just have to declare the public hearing closed.
He did.
Okay, public hearing's closed. Okay, 10. All right, we are gonna call the planning board meeting to order, yes? And we have a quorum. And the first thing on our agenda would be the approval of the minutes of June 17, 2024. I read through them. I did not see anything jump out at me. Has anybody else?
No, I didn't see any problems. It looked fine.
I'll move to accept minutes of June 17th as written.
Second.
Any discussion? We'll do a roll call vote. Jennifer,
Hi, Jennifer West.
and go ahead. I'll reserve for last.
Wendy Huntington Evans, I.
Gil Rivera, aye.
And Bill Shoppy, aye. That's all of us, right?
Yeah.
Nope, you're not voting, that's right.
I'm not for this.
All right, old business. Land use ordinance none, development review ordinance, David and Joan Losi. David and Joan Losi, map 31, lot 5E, application MD 0124 to subdivide the lot into 4 parcels. You did give us what we asked you for. As far as everything goes there. Now, Terry, you got anything for chapter and verse that says we're doing something that we're not supposed to be doing?
I'm sorry, Bill, I wasn't listening and I'm not gonna step into that right now.
You got chapter and verse?
These are required to subdivision plans.
Okay, chapter and verse.
I do not know, Bill, of course, I do not know, but you do know subdivision.
Well, I've got-
where to Find it. So if you can
I've got the
find
whole
it,
book in
that
front of
would
me
be great.
right here, and I was,
It says on a
Okay.
brief summary in the town ordinance, it says these are required to.
okay,
sub-
Isabel's got the chapter and verse of what we're looking for.
Thank you.
We will require a field survey of boundary lines of the subdivision,
And that's,
giving a complete descriptive data by bearings and distances made and certified by a licensed land surveyor. The corners of the subdivision in each lot shall be located on the ground and marked by monuments or, I don't think that means. I think that
monument, just a
means
granite stone.
They use they can
They
use
use
pins
pins,
now.
Yes, they can.
The grandfather.
The plan shall indicate the type of monument set and or found at each corner. And a copy of the deed from which the survey was based.
What section is that?
That is 45 48 E 2 and 4. No, 2 and 3. Sorry.
That's pretty much what I would have given you, Bill.
Hmm?
That's pretty much what I would have read to you had I looked it up.
Also require soil tests on each lot. So there were, well, one lot had a house. One has a test pit and nothing on the other lot.
If you're asking a form of question. I believe there is a test pit on lot 3. And I believe there is a report and I can't find it.
Oh,
So I'm probably in a position where I've got to go have it redone. Probably, but we obviously will get that done.
okay,
Does the cemetery have to show up on there?
yeah.
Yes,
The cemetery.
Is the cemetery on one of these lots, David?
There is on what was originally lot 5 off of Trim Lane. There is a series of headstones. There are 2 stone circles. Makes me question exactly when that was built and by whom. In any event, there it is, and I'm more than happy to put that on the plan.
That
I
needs
show
to
that
be
to
on
the
the
surveyor
plan.
and he has it electronically, so we'll put it on.
Indigenous historic, does that require state level approval? I know I had to get state level clearance about indigenous historic sites. It's
not
an-
in
it's
our-
an indigenous-
not
it's not in our ordinance book about
Not in
that.
our
It's
order.
just-
It's just, there are setbacks from a burial plot
Yeah.
that have to be met.
Yeah, so I know when I worked for the town, I had to get clearance for historic indigenous sites, that it was not that, and we're not sure. If I was told that was an indigenous burial site, and there are different ordinances for that.
We need documentation.
I've asked that
I'll look it up.
question. Somebody comes and puts flags there once a year. And, I was told that those were Spragues that lived there or were buried there. I was also told that that was the burial ground for the Trims, the Trim Farm. I don't know. I have, a friend of mine does work with the Penobscots. And I explained everything and had pictures and what have you, and sent it up to them and said, are you interested in this land? I'm prepared to sell it. If you want a part of this land, if you want to preserve a part of it, if you want to own this thing, now is the time, speak up. And the report came back to me that they were not interested. I was a little disappointed, frankly, because it to me looks like. It looks like a Mohawk or Iroquois burial ground that I'm familiar with in Connecticut where I used to live. Looks very similar, suspiciously similar, but I'm not qualified to make that call. I'm told it was Sprague or Trim and non-indigenous. If there's somebody told me it was indigenous, I'd be fine with that. I just don't have the information, and we'll do whatever you want with regard to setbacks and showing it on the map.
We've got one on our property and I wasn't aware that there's actually setback requirements for it until I got into this.
But I think that the setbacks would come up
When somebody wants to build
when
something.
somebody wants to build.
We don't want to warn them by putting it on the map. Right.
Right, and it's one of the things that's required on the map.
That's 45-48 F16, Carrie, if you want that one.
45.
45-48 48F16.
Thank you.
Phil. I'm sorry, I lost where we are here. Are we having a kind of an informal continuation of Mr. Losey's hearing, or we're just talking land use ordinances?
We're talking about application.
We're talking about the application. Is it complete? Is one of the questions that you were asked. And I don't see it on our minutes that we said an application is complete. So we're investigating.
Okay,
And asking Mr. Losey to provide more information.
all right.
Whether it's a subdivision map or what, I haven't seen that in here yet.
This is field survey.
That's what it says there, didn't it?
Yeah.
And where was that? That was on, 4548 E2. A field survey of the boundary lines. It doesn't say anything about a subdivision plan.
Isabel, in what you're reading, isn't there something to the effect of, and all other encumbrances, obligations that state, federal, or international organizations might put on the property? You know, catch-all
I didn't see
of
that. no.
things that would include the location of the resource protection zones, or maybe the well water sources, or all sorts of things.
On 4 of 45-48 E, it says a copy of all deed restrictions, easements, right of ways, or other encumbrances and currently affecting the property. Is that what you're talking?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's some other language too, but
Well,
the point is simply, there first has to be a subdivision plan, and then we can talk about what has to be on that plan.
subdivision plan that I can see. I don't see subdivision plan.
As part of a subdivision application,
I see field survey.
Section F,
What?
section F, below is a plan.
You're gonna have to speak up.
F, the next section down says plan. And has certain requirements for a plan. It doesn't call it a
The
subdivision
plan shall have the
plan.
following information delineated and or included.
It doesn't call it a subdivision plan, but it includes the plan.
No, it says the date the plan was prepared, arrow north, graphic mail, map scale. Names and addresses of record owner, subdivider, and individual or company who prepared the plan, and names adjoining the property owners. If any portion of the subdivision is in a floodplain, the boundaries of any floodplain or flood hazard areas or in the 100-year flood elevation, the title and boundary lines of any land use districts occurring on or within 250 feet of the perimeter of the proposed subdivision. Setback lines of all applicable building setbacks. Any areas greater than 10,000 square feet on proposed lot that are not suitable for building because of soil conditions or slope. The location and size of existing proposed sewers, water mains, culverts, and drainage ways are adjacent to on or adjacent to property to be subdivided. I am reading this, so if you don't have to, you just,
I'll find it.
it's just. Let's see, where was I? Location of names, widths, and existing and proposed roads, highways, easements, building lines, parks, or other open spaces on or adjacent to the subdivision. The width and location of any existing and proposed roads or public improvements shown upon the protection district map and comprehensive plan, if any, within the subdivision. Those lot lines with dimensions and lot areas, all parcels of land proposed to be dedicated to public use and the conditions of such dedication. And if there are none, I guess you don't put any, right? Location of any open space to be preserved and an explanation of improvements and its management. Plan for the disposal of surface drainage water prepared by a registered professional engineer when required by the board. Location of existing burial ground or cemeteries. And that was added in 5/10/2014. Oh. So. The question at hand, do we have a completed application? We've got so many plans that have been submitted. I'm not even sure which one is the most updated one or, but I haven't seen cemetery or some of this other stuff.
I don't think we have a complete application.
This
Right.
needs to have the cemetery added here. We need to go place the 2 or 1 missing pin. I didn't want to do it twice. If we're close enough, you tell me, go get the pin, I'll put the pins in. So we get the pins in and all of the data, you know, a certain amount of this was included here, but the rest of the data is captured electronically. All of the boundaries, the distances, the area, all of that is fascinating when they do it. They set up this thing that communicates with the satellite, set it up over on Sprague Beach. And from there, they were able to go up to the satellite and come down and hit spots. They could stand there on the ground with an instrument. And that recorded it and locked it in. It was fascinating for me to watch them do that. Point is that all of this was produced by a computer from that data. It all exists. The lot areas, the sizes, the boundary directions and lengths. It's all there electronically. As I said, it's quite a map. We may end up having to do this on essentially 2 sheets. We'll do one to show the whole thing, but to get all the data on, it's gonna be crowded. So we've got it. You tell us if you tell me you want it, all the data, all the everything, including the cemetery, we'll get it to you forthwith.
Yeah, we need all that.
What I would say is, we're looking for anything that is outlined in 45-48. Is that not correct?
I think you're right. And I gave that to my surveyor back at the start of this process, sometime back in February or March.
Yeah.
And so he started acquiring that. When he was out here, he started picking that stuff up. So I think we have it. We just want to get it down on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna need all those stakes visible for when we do a site review.
They'll all be visible with the exception of one that got pounded into the ground by
Well,
fires.
you put a flag there
I
then,
did.
okay.
The flag's gone, sir. I didn't take it away. We did dug a little hole and put a flag on it.
That'll work.
Spray paint. That works too.
Yeah. That's a little harder
Until
to
the cars
walk away.
roll over it.
Takes me back a few years. but it's looking different.
Right before we do our site review.
Yeah, right before we do a site review, would be good, yeah. Mr. Condon, this is, okay,
2 quick things. Will the flags be even on this, the lot divided, near the Corby lot, the boundary between lot 3 and 4?
All corners.
yeah,
Activity district.
Yeah, well,
I
And,
just would like to bring up a point, and maybe we just need to have clarification from the town attorney that what they're calling lot 4 is all owned by Mr. Losi currently. So it would not be considered a creation of a second lot in terms of they've taken land out of that lot and leaving it as is, from what I understand. So I don't believe it would be considered a 4th lot. It's not going to be sold.
Which lot are you talking about?
What they're calling lot 4, but it's lot 3, south of lot 3.
I think it says the remainder land.
That's not part of this.
That one's not gonna be sold.
Right.
That one's it.
Correct, yeah.
What's left?
And it's not part, he combined all that land into one lot. So
Right.
there's
Now he's
been
splitting
reference-
4 lots. Only 3 of them he's looking to sell, but he's splitting it up into 4 lots.
Well,
That means that it's really not a lot, 3 lots, the 4th is just excess land, it's not a lot approved for building. We'll make that real, we can put that on the map too.
Good.
But that land is partly in Sunset Acres and partly not part of
See, I
Sunset.
don't care, it's all one package right now, correct? And he wants to carve off 3 pieces, which makes it, he's dividing it by 4 lots.
I just asked if you'd have flags on the corner of the lot, and you said yes, and that's
Yeah,
fine with me.
right.
But I'm not asking about that anymore.
Right. All pins will be marked.
Yeah, that's good.
okay. No, we're not taking it.
Okay. Now we're at a vote.
Well,
not?
my other thought, other information we need is to define on the final site plan, the 50-foot right of way for what is so-called Trim Lane currently, and all the proposed right of ways for these lots, so that it's clarified on the plan what exactly is the right of way for these new lots.
Is that part of the ordinance? Do you have
Yeah,
that?
yeah, they need to show a 50-foot right of way for the subdivision road. And as I believe it was Todd brought up the fact that probably they need to have something along the line of a hammerhead cul-de-sac or something at the end of that lot for the turnaround of fire equipment. And at least to provide an area for that, to have it at least identified on the plan. And that prior to sale of any of the lots, that the road should be upgraded at least to town standards. I don't know if we have to require at this time paving, and curbs. Which seems way out of line of what we have.
It's excessive.
Yeah,
Okay, where was the one she was talking about?
The cul-de-sac.
45-81.
Dash AEI.
ADI.
AEI. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm digging. (45-81).
No, AEI.
no,
Dash 80 and then I.
45-81
Is road design standard.
G,
Oh, so I leave the G in.
no, it's I,
HI.
45-81. I,
Oh,
No.
You get there.
And that should be on the plan as well.
right.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. 45-81.I. In addition to the design standards above, dead end roads shall be constructed to provide a cul-de-sac turnaround with the following requirements of radii. If that's how you say that word.
Radio.
So where would the cul-de-sac be? At the end of the trim lane or
At the dead end, where it's at.
where it shows a little old road that goes into lot 3? Is that where the cul-de-sac's gonna end up? Or is it gonna end up in Todd's property over there at the end of the road?
Well, I think it goes at the end of this 50-foot right of way
I don't want
on lot 3.
That's where it would go.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, down there. down there, at the bottom of lot 3.
Right, yeah, towards the end of lot 3. Nope,
So, down,
Oh,
right there, yeah.
right in this general area.
that's not a dead, well,
Was it supposed to be the continuation of that?
well, I don't know what it was, that was supposed to, this was built by Dexter and Jones. I know in half of it, but they built it, it comes down here and then comes to Dexter's place and splits, there's split to the driveway. From this point on, so I didn't build this, I don't propose to build any roads. This is was in existence for 20 years. And I don't know what to do, but I mean, that's, Jones and Dexter built that. They put a split for their driveways off of it. I'm not building any roads at all. The Trim Lane comes up here and ends at Todd and Robin Ann's place. I didn't build that, and I'm not building any more. I'm not building roads. I'm
Okay,
simply trying to divide land which has frontage on the existing Trim Lane.
So we've got 4528A, no lot and subdivision may be sold, leased or otherwise conveyed for the road which lot fronts is completed in accordance with the provisions of the chapter. So it's like you can't do the road work later.
Well, there's no real work to be done, is my point. It's done. The
How
road
do you-
exists.
How do you get to lot 2?
The driveway.
Which
Right.
driveway?
This way.
We can we would at least have to,
Well, we've got this whole thing is access off this road, which is already here. It's got access off this here.
it needs to be on the, I think it needs to be on the plan,
Okay,
whether you build it or not. Well, this is right in, right here. So, does it sound like what it means? Needs to be on the plan?
That's what it sounds like, but if he's not building roads, then you can put it there, but it would be up to the people that buy the property and own land existing to all chip in and build it.
I don't believe that's what a subdivision is.
I think that,
So you
you know, I looked at the frontage each lot has to have on existing roads, and we've got that on existing roads. And I thought that's as far as they had to go. To have to create additional roads when there's already more than adequate frontage seems silly to me, but this is your regulation, so let's talk.
Does he have,
I don't,
Jerry?
I'm sorry, this isn't gonna help clarify. But I think the board ought to understand that there is a difference between a road and a proposed road and a right of way.
Right.
And a right of way can provide access to up to 4 houses, but no more. And a right of way doesn't have to be out of the frontage. A road offers frontage. A right of way is a way of getting access to a deeper lot. But they're very different things. What's interesting is that it seems to me that you guys have an expert on the board who's not chipping in. I would like to know what a realtor says about how does she evaluate a property that is for sale? You know, how does she say, well, you have access to hit this property that way, or this property has frontage on this road? Or how does all that work from a realtor's point of view? How do you decide what you are selling? Because that's what everybody is trying to decide, is what are the rights that are on the plan?
Well, there are things that make a lot more valuable. And then there are things that simply give access. Okay, a right of way gives access, and any lot to be sold needs at least that
Right.
access, a right of way.
Well, the only way you can get to it is a helicopter, right?
And
Yeah, well, I wouldn't buy a lot I didn't have access, I couldn't get to, you know? So,
It's 200 feet.
but there is a right of way proposed right here to give,
On paper
yeah,
and possibly on deed.
yes.
So can you show me where you mean?
But right, this 50-foot right of way along lot 3. Is that not to give access to both, you know, the land that you're retaining? And this,
And then,
and lot, yeah, in that,
I own this. When Dexter and Jones wanted to build, I gave them a 50-foot right of way here and they built a road on it. And it gives access to these.
Right.
In fact, there's a driveway into lot 2 from that road.
Oh, so there's a road there.
Yes, there. Now, the road, like it needs repair. Last February, I talked to Dave and I said, can you help me out this year? Can you put me on your schedule? And he said he thought he could get to us right after mud season. I've talked to Dave a couple times. I'm not trying to bug Dave. I like Dave. We get along fine. It's on his list. Trim Lane needs work. My driveway needs work. This thing needs work. Dave has been authorized to do that. He said, shaking with his checkbook in hand. But, you know, I know the road needs help and we're gonna do that. Now bring it up to town standard. We're bringing it up to the highest standard it's ever been. The last time I redid Trim Lane, it was better than it was when I first found it. Now, I don't know, do you really want to ask me to take a road that's been there for a very long time and bring it up to some standard that it has never been before? Is that really what you
well,
want?
Is that what the ordinance says, though?
I think that's a question for the attorney where it's an existing road.
Where it's an existing road? I agree.
have you thought about, in the deeds for each of these lots, making sure that everyone shares equally in the maintenance?
That's been discussed over and over again with the,
I mean, that's normal when,
Yeah.
with the shared driveway.
Wendy, yeah, I agree with you. Back when we bought lot 5 and 6, my wife and I went to Earl McKenzie, who owned the big, he then was in Connor's position. And said, you got your big trucks coming down here, most of the damage to the road, a tricky road, you guys do, but we need it for access and we think we ought to be contributing on some sort of a fair pro rata basis. So let's enter an agreement. And he said that his lawyer, Lee Woodward fellow, said, no, we can't do that because that gives all the property owners an equitable interest in the road and Hillsborough Marine would lose control. Well,
But they
I'm-
all have the benefit of the right of way, so they already have that. Right?
I don't disagree with you. I'm just telling you what I was told.
Right. I
And
know
so,
him,
so I said to, who, Woodward or?
Lee.
Well, he and I don't always agree, like conveying this over here was one of his. But I asked Earl McKenzie, suppose I draw an agreement to look at it. So I did that. And he looked at it and said, no, that's no good because it leaves open-ended what might happen farther down the road. You're not restricting it. That's all, I don't know. At that point, Todd, Rob, and Ann were building something, I think, at that point, or maybe not. There was, Olson was messing around up here. I wasn't sure what he was gonna do. So how can you put a restriction in place right now when you don't know what else might be going on here? There are ways to deal with that, about burdening the over the right of way and what have you, unduly burning. We can deal with that, but, and he said, I didn't want to talk about it. So we simply had no agreement. When George took over the boatyard, we went to George and he works out fine. I gave him a check every year. Things seemed fine. There was no agreement. Just did it because I thought it was the right thing to do. I went to Conover and I said, I'd like to do the same thing. You want to try and do something pro rata for the whole group? And he said, well, what do you think is fair? I said, I don't know. I'm not paying the bills on this road. I'm willing to pay my fair share. Just give me a number. You want me to pay what I paid George? well, he didn't know what that was. I said, well, give me a number. He never had, just said, do something that's fair and walked away on me. I'm sorry for that, but come on. Let's have a conversation here. I think that all the people in this subdivision, everybody, ought to be contributing to the Marshall Cove Road. I think that's fair.
Because that's their only access.
Well, yeah,
And-
I'm
and I
just
agree
shocked
with
there's no road association agreement.
Well,
Never was.
there never was. When the subdivision was set up, it should have been done, and it wasn't done. Now you're trying to go backwards. And another problem we had was there's some people farther up the road here who said, well, I only want to contribute a tiny bit because I only go this far. I don't want to.
I do the same thing on my shared driveway, so I support that.
But how do you get that argument to stop? If, you know, if people just dig in and say, take a position and don't talk any further, simply dictate, that doesn't, and that's what happened when we tried it. So, listen, I'm the most agreeable guy around here. I'm happy to do it. But we've got to be some kind of rules. There got to be some guardrails.
Yeah, well, you know,
I
I will say that you know, the person at the end unfortunately pays the most, you know? So, because they're using all of it, and that's common, unfortunately.
Well, the people who are sitting at the end were Todd, the Dexters, and me.
But
That's fine.
it's also common for all homeowners to get together or in an agreement for it to say that they will all get together once a year and discuss what needs to be done and what improvements, and everybody has to agree, you know, at this meeting.
I had agreements like that, several that I drafted, not in Maine, but in Connecticut, that I put together. I said, look, here's some examples. Can these work? I couldn't get it through, so here we are.
It's not up for us to make that happen either.
No, it's
No.
not.
Private
Yes,
property.
yeah.
Ideally, it would be the way to go, but
But it's not
That-
part of
that's-
this, and it's not in his book.
it's not, it's not part of the whole scheme of things.
You know, the C part of Trim Lane is, that was just a diversion about all of Marshall Cove, which is this whole other can of worms, but we're talking about the road that is actually involved in this subdivision plan. So the part of Trim Lane that was built and is there is what you guys are talking about needs to be improved, so we should just stick to the topic. Marshall Cove's another whole mess because of the boatyard and all kinds of people who did whatever they wanted. It's just a mess.
But I think you're right. I think that's a question to go with the lawyer on, to find out what we need to do there. Because I don't know. Nobody's made a motion yet. It was just a
Correct.
proposed motion, right? It was just
Just a question.
okay. I wanted to make sure we weren't.
There's no motion on the floor.
We're good at chasing rabbits tonight.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
It's all
Was
right.
Isabel's emotion that it's not complete? I heard that the plan is
That
not.
wasn't an actual
It wasn't a motion, she just said it.
I think we don't need to move on that. We move when it's complete.
And we have to say whether it's complete or not,
Right.
Oh, well, if there was a motion, but there wasn't,
right?
and it's not complete, we need to.
You haven't made it yet.
I'm sorry?
Do we have to make a motion on it?
Yeah.
We do, and we have to have it based on what? Based on,
He's gotta,
say again?
I think, cause
complete survey.
he's gotta answer some questions.
Right, but based on
Based
what?
on soil-
45 dash,
Yes,
I'd say soil tests,
you
survey.
can just say, I mean, in my opinion. Where were we? That was 45 dash
45, 48 is why you were getting all up.
48, right?
well, I think first we need to probably table it to talk to the attorney, right?
Right, that too.
So that we know what we need to ask you to do. So we know what we need to ask you to provide.
Can I ask, is your attorney Kristen Collins? That was doing this?
I don't know who our attorney is right now.
The one that wrote the initial letter about it, works for Jensen and Baird, who was our attorney. They've since retired.
I heard you say Freddie Flaherty.
Yeah, Freddie Flaherty is the new one. I'm not sure who exactly our main point person is with that firm yet, so I gotta figure that
Well, I
out.
was just suggesting it probably, that it was likely to be Kristen because she's doing municipal work.
Yeah.
For them and
That name sounds familiar.
and she used to work for Bill Kelly, who's familiar to all of you, so I figured she probably knows it.
Yeah.
The reason I asked the question was that I have a lawyer on this thing because I've been threatened with suit. And my lawyer would be more than happy to discuss with the Islesboro attorney how these provisions work and what we need to get done. If they can agree on something, I've got a surveyor, who's more than happy to get it done. So I'm trying to move this along so we don't have this entertainment again.
Well, there's not gonna, I don't see any need for another public hearing, but we are gonna have to hash this thing out and figure out where it goes. So I'm hearing two different things here. I'm hearing tabling if I'm not complete, and I'm hearing tabling it to talk to an attorney about what we actually need to ask for. I mean, I know we need to ask for the criteria that's written up in 45-48. Is that not true?
Yeah. We'll table it for that and.
And it may get tabled again once a lawyer comes through and says something that we need to do this, we need to do that.
Yeah, regarding the road, I guess is the big question.
Right, that needs to be cleared up.
Bill, I would like to make a motion related to the fact that we request for the next meeting that we have, or when he can provide it, an updated plan that's closer to final, that shows the information noted in, what is it, 45-48. And we do need to also clarify whether or not we need more frontage, road frontage on lots 2 and 3, ending at where he notes the road ends. And just the additional information that's been discussed regarding the septic system. And, oh, I did have a question about the easement, just to clarify how that easement at the end,
Question,
correct?
you were in the middle of making a motion. Are you
Okay,
not-
so yes, and just clarification on the easement proposed for right of way at the south end of lot 2.
You're saying information from the attorney regarding.
No, information from the applicant. That we need in terms of the plan, we need to see the additional information, the septic system location, test pit. We need the more detail he explained that he does have in terms of the lot lines. Explanation for the proposed easement down at lot 2. And I
Are you
don't
talking
know,
about the proposed right away to the shore?
correct. Is that a public right of way? Is it a lot right of way? That type of thing. So that's my motion.
That was the motion?
Correct.
You get all of it
I will eventually.
eventually?
So, it just to clarify, you're planning to give, it looks like lot 3, a right of way to the water?
Right.
Oh, what, along 1 and 2?
Not along 1 and 2, no.
No,
That's not right.
It's along
along
Dexter and lot 2
here.
That's.
Okay, oh, here it is, I'm sorry. Yep, I see it now.
I thought that's not a waterfront lot. It would be an amenity, which I thought would be appreciated.
Oh, yeah.
Are you clear about what we're asking of you?
Think so.
Does anybody want a second? that?
Well, there is good.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Sir,
just the part about the cul-de-sac 45,
That's a question we're gonna be talking to the lawyer about.
okay,
See if it's-
that's included. I just was gonna give you the chapter and verse.
Yeah, that's one we're gonna be talking to the lawyer about to find out. Do we
Yep.
make this guy do everything except pave the road, put curbs in? Or
I
what
hope.
do we have to make him do? Maybe.
Well, the fire equipment thing, I mean, Bert mentioned
Listen,
that-
I've been on a lot of roads that I wouldn't drive a fire truck or an ambulance up. on that.
But this is what are subdivision requirements for?
I understand. That's why we're gonna clear it.
May I ask a
Clarification, Bill.
question for clarification on
Yeah.
that motion? Jennifer, are you basically saying table this for all those items?
Yes.
Well, I was just saying this is additional information we need for our next meeting. I don't know if we need to table the application at this time, but we need to also talk to the attorney.
We have to table it because it's not complete. We don't have all that information.
I think we can just make a motion that the application is not complete. You know what you need
I
to
think
bring
so.
us.
So do you want me to withdraw my request?
No,
So we need to vote on that motion first.
With the exception of the proposed right of way that you're talking about, I think everything else is covered in 45-48.
Correct. So we need to have him complete the plan according to 45-48.
Right.
But there's also 45-81.
I told you. We're gonna be dealing with a lawyer on that one.
Oh, I thought it had to be part of the motion, sorry.
so now we have to vote.
So far, we're at a motion already. We've got a motion on the table,
And it's
second.
seconded, yeah.
I just wanted clarification on the wording, and it sounds like it's a tabling motion, but I just wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah, I agree, it's a tabling motion. I agree, it's a tabling motion. And everything is included on 45-48 with the exception of the right of way to the beach, I believe. Is that clarification?
Mhm,
Are we all in agreement on that?
mhm.
Okay. There's our discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Isabel Jackson, I.
Jennifer West, I.
Wendy Huntington Evans,
Joe Rivera, aye.
Bill Shoppy, aye.
And just to add to the confusion, which we need to ask to the
Joy.
attorney. I know, under 125-33, item B on the.
Hang on.
Yep, all right. 125-33B, and this is where I get confused because the subdivisions also go under this one. But it says that except that up to 4 lots may be served by a right-of-way of not less than 25 feet in width and built and maintained at all times to allow access to all lots by emergency vehicles. And it also, what?
Go back, 125-33.
Yes, 125-33B, it's the last
B as in boy.
portion. B
Yes,
as in boy. It's the last portion of that paragraph. And I'm a little confused as to whether, I don't believe it just relates to water frontage. But we do need clarification on it. And they do note at the end, the last sentence is responsibility for maintaining the right of way shall be determined by the planning board at the time of approval.
See that?
Just to add, and this portion of the ordinance has to be complied with by the subdivision too, so we just need clarification, and sorry for the phone ringing, it's an actual landline.
Didn't hear it.
Did we finish our motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, we voted.
Okay, so you effectively table this until the next meeting,
Correct,
so you're done with this one.
correct. So. With that being said, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, Jennifer, you're muted.
Oh, what about a site review? I guess
When
we
we
should wait until we
completed-
know all the pins are located.
We need more information.
When we have a completed application, we'll work
Okay.
about. Something
Yeah.
we'll work on.
I think a couple of pins need to be in place too.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna ask the attorney about this. Yeah.
Which is, what's this? The one that you just read?
Yeah, about the right of way and,
Yeah.
for up to 4 lots.
I think we should have.
That,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all for your time. Sorry it was so complicated. I also was trying to make it easy. And I thought since my neighbors don't like me, maybe they want me to get this successful so I could get out of there. If I'm gone, their problems go away. But I guess I read that wrong too.
I can't speak to the neighbors, but I'm sure they don't, I'm sure, I would hope that they don't like you. They might not like your plan, but
Well,
you as a person probably. But I can't speak to them.
I wish I felt the same way, but my house has been broken into and vandalized and all other things. I'm not gonna say who did it. I don't know who did it. I just feel rather unwelcome in that neighborhood.
All right, new business. Land use ordinance, Nicholas Seymour and Deborah Helen, map 42.7, application 30-24. Dara, can you take that elsewhere, or you?
I have the number of the statute. I want to make sure that is followed up on.
We're already done with it right now.
I understand, but you said you needed the number. And it's 3033 main statute on the vacated road. Because I don't have assurance from what, no one has said you're gonna require deeds for this land. I think it's really improper for this to go forward.
45-48 includes deeds.
3033, rights of action concerning ways deemed vacated. I'd like to put that on the record.
It's on the record.
Rights of action concerning ways.
Can we continue now? Land use ordinance, Nicholas Seymour and Deborah Owen, map 42, lot 7, application LE 30-24 to construct a pier, ramp and float and to stabilize the shoreline. Okay. Stop. Is anybody here representing them?
No.
an attorney supposed to be, thought there was a letter, right?
Tom Fowler.
I haven't asked it.
He was aware it's me.
I was just asking, I don't know if we need them or not.
And I think we're doing site review.
But,
Oh.
but all
Or the master. There's a letter.
Trying to be. Thomas Fowler, act as an agent. Processing the enclosed permit application.
Jennifer, what's HAT stand for?
Tax, TAX?
HAT, HAT, HAT.
Expert
Oh.
on this, come on.
Where's our definitions? Hey, Carrie, I want a definition for hat. Annual tide, highest annual tide.
Good job.
I do want to point out that here we are, the Sea Level Rise Committee is working so hard on the Narrows, which basically has the same perspective, or is that the right word, of this pier. And how long is this pier going to last? It's just unfortunate. And to see the amount of erosion that they're already experiencing is unfortunate.
Yet they want to spend money to do it.
Yeah, they want to do it, so we can't stop them. And the DEP thinks everything's fine. But it'll be interesting to see how long the wooden portion of it stays in place before it floats away.
Well, I guess that would be job
Anything could happen
security
in
for
the
whoever
storm.
puts it in.
I don't know, are the piers wood or the stone?
Wood pile supported pier.
It is wood pile.
That's what it says. New
All right,
construction.
well, thank you for reading it.
Wood pile supported pier with seasonal ramp and float from the up island for recreational watercraft. Upland, excuse me. From the upland for recreational watercraft use, motorized and non-motorized vehicles, fishing, swimming, and general access to coastal resource. Second, to stabilize and protect the severely eroding bluff face very near the long-standing family cottage at the top of the bluff and minimize continued loss of upland and bluff. So it's a twofold project, as we saw, and did I hear you say Army Corps of Engineers has signed off on it?
It's in there.
Yeah, DEP.
DEP and Army Corps, both.
Yeah, it's there.
So probably the next step is to have a site review.
Correct.
We table application 30-24 for site review and harbor master report.
Oh, right.
Any discussion? You catch me seconding?
I did, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Isabel Jackson, I.
Jennifer West, I.
Wendy Huntington Evans, I.
Joe Rivera, aye.
Bill Shelby, aye. Next question, who's gonna go on this fabulous tour?
I can go.
I'd be interested. Oh, go ahead, Wendy. Go for it. Nope, go for it.
I'm awful busy, so, and unreliable as a result, so.
All right,
I just
Well,
don't like.
between the two of us, one of us will make it, Dave.
all right. Isabel and Jennifer or Wendy.
But not all three.
But not
all
all
three.
three, you know.
And you'll make sure that they have everything staked, Dave?
I will get in touch with Mr. Fowler and remind him that he missed the meeting tonight and. And I will also reach out to the harbor master and get him to
I want to.
look at things too.
All right, guys.
See,
So,
our next meeting is 29th.
29th of July.
So how about if we do a site review on Tuesday, the 23rd?
Tuesday, the 23rd. That's your calendar, look like Mr. Unreliable.
That's the day.
I'm unreliable that day.
I just have a 1:30 Zoom. So the morning, I could do the morning.
Tuesday, the 23rd, let's
Yeah.
say 10 o'clock?
Sure.
Does that get you off island? Wait a minute, are you gonna be on island?
I will be back, Friday.
Okay, but I just heard from Isabel that that's the day that the ferry's not gonna be running proper.
23rd, yeah, the first
23rd.
boat and that's it.
Oh, just first boat is on, is, and
Well,
everything
no,
else?
that's when it's gonna run and
That's-
then they don't know how many they're gonna lose after that.
Well, it's supposed to be running again at 1 supposedly.
Yeah, supposedly.
So the,
Checks in the mail.
oh, so maybe it'd have to be in the afternoon then.
Alright,
Oh. What do you
well,
want
let's,
to do?
how about Tuesday, the 23rd at 3 o'clock?
Okay,
Sounds
That
good.
work?
yep,
If you need, if you get, if it gets, turns out just being you,
I'll holler at you.
holler at me. I'll hold the tape measure.
okay, great.
You said 3 o'clock, don't holler at me, holler at Gil,
Yeah.
holler at Gil. He can stop playing pickleball, I gotta
It
pick
don't
up
start till
granddaughter at
later.
3:30.
Pick them off later than that.
Okay. Holler at Gil. All right. CEO report none,
Okay.
not done yet, folks.
They're just packing.
People wishing to address the planning board.
Why stop, Terry?
No, that's all right. Correspondence, I don't have any. And committee reports, anybody have anything on committee they want to report? All right, share additional business. Prestica,
Oh, dear.
and we scared you away?
I just, I really wanted to come here and say in person that I really wanted to participate and I intended to, but, I just found out in that intervening time that I did get a, position that is going to take me off island in the next couple weeks. So I guess I missed my chance. Thank you. Yeah, thank you all for, allowing me to permanently try. I mean, it might allow me to come back and balance between island and off island, but I'm not sure when that would happen, so I don't want to drag this this saga on any further. I hope you'll find an opportunity for somebody else to join.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Cressica.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Well, I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Isabel Jackson, aye.
Jennifer West, I.
Wendy Huntington Evans. Aye.
Forget.
Getting late, huh?
I've been Wendy Huntington forever.
All right, bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. It was fun. I missed a picnic with my family. Bye.
What's it the next time?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, okay.
my blood pressure was probably up anyway.